You may not be so lucky to work with Blackmagic cameras only. Sometimes you may be required to use different cameras mixed in a live production with Blackmagic cameras. And Blackmagic cameras can be shaded using RCPs from SKAARHOJ. So we have the RCP Mini here, we have the CCU product and also the bigger RCP. And those products will, out of the box, shade your Blackmagic cameras. But what if you have robotic cameras on your set too? Then you would need to shade them using Visca commands. That can be done. You can just install a Visca device core on the RCP and then map all the controls to Iris on the Visca protocol with the IP address the camera has, or the Ethernet to serial converter that would be in between. The other case you could imagine is you would need to shade a GoPro camera, because they are popping up everywhere, it seems, and they have an HDMI output. So how do you do that? Because they can't accept any incoming commands themselves. But luckily, we have a product like the BrightEye NXT 950 from Ensemble Designs, which is a frame synchronizer. So it will not only synchronize for GoPro cameras, for instance, or for SDI input sources with this particular configuration. It will also allow you to do a certain degree of shading, so you can just gain pedestal and also RGB gain. You can remap audio even, you can crop and scale. There are a lot of features in this little guy, and we support that as well. So I thought it would be really fun today to take an RCP mini panel and see how easily we can, in a matter of minutes, really reconfigure it to connect to the frame synchronizer and instead be shading the input source to this one, which is me. The camera you are looking at right now goes into this device. So if I adjust, let's say, the gain, you can see the gain here. If I pull the gain, you can see there's a change to, we could describe this as the iris of the camera, which is filming me. So I'm not adjusting the camera itself, I'm adjusting the input signal, the SDI going into the frame synchronizer. And I want that control on this joystick instead. So how easily can we do that? That's the question. Alright, so we'll get back to the web interface of the NXT 950 at some point, but now we'll just quickly go to the SKAARHOJ firmware update application and open the configuration page. So on the configuration page, we can see that there are a lot of configurations. Some I've played around with here. Then we have 4 default configurations. And the currently selected one is a CCU wire shield. So it means that it will try to shade camera 8. It will try to shade camera 8 on a Blackmagic camera chain using the SDI output of the RCP Mini. You can see as I pull the handle, I have changes going on in this display and so forth. Obviously, we have no source that would react to these changes at the moment. That's what we are going to change now. Okay, so let's get to it. So what I basically do is I say I want to create a new configuration. So we have a new configuration here, and I'll give it a name. So configuration number 5 would be shading with NXT 950, like that. Okay, so shading with NXT 950, and if we look at the configuration, we can see it's completely empty, basically. There are a few things here and there, but just for the sake of moving forward, we will now ignore that and add devices. So add devices means that I'll simply now pick support for a certain device. I want support for the NXT 950. And when I scroll down the list, we'll see Ensemble Designs. We have support for the, let's see, the NXT 450, the NXT 900 series. So I select this one and save settings. And then I go back to controller configuration, because now I want to attach certain controls to my handle, and that's the one I'm most interested in. So I want to go directly down to the joystick here. I can see now the joystick. I also see there are a lot of columns here which I want to remove, because I don't intend, at least at first, to have multiple states. So I'll just go back to having a single state like this. I go back to the joystick. Okay, so now we can see that we have a number of actions we can select for the BrightEye NXT 900 series. And the one I'm looking for the joystick would be proc gain. So I select proc gain, and since I'm connected to frame synchronizer number 1, it's all fine already. I just pick 1. Now we also have a wheel on the joystick, and I want I want the wheel on the joystick to adjust the pedestal. So I'll now select pedestal, frame synchronizer 1, that's all good. Okay, then I have some displays up here which I want to reflect the value of the gain, the iris, and the pedestal as well. So I think maybe the best thing I could do is to go up here and see that I have the displays are called 17 and 18. That's the small number you see there. So if I go to 17, this would be my left display, and 18 would be my right display, and I want them to be tied up with the joystick and the pedestal. So I am, and now we need to look at the number for the hardware component, the joystick, which is 13. So for the first display, I will tie it to hardware component 13. It means that this display will reflect whatever setting is associated with the joystick. And then the second display should now reflect the wheel, which is 14. So I'll just hook it up with 14, like that. There we are. Okay, so, and then I think I want also to be able to adjust red, green, and blue gain. And luckily we have 3 buttons that lend themselves so well to RGB, because there are 3 of them. So I'll just now sign this one up for adjusting red gain, green gain, and blue gain. And the quickest way would be to go up here, press encoder 1, and then we say, okay, I want to adjust the gain, the red gain for frame synchronizer 1. Then I can insert the same action and just change to green and then change to blue, so it's quickly done. Okay, so I think I'm kind of ready now to try this out. And I need 2 more things. I need to enable the frame, I need to enable the device core, the support, and give it the right IP address, so we know which device we're talking to. So this happens in the bottom of the page, and there we can first of all set our own IP address up to something that I have a certain wish to set, and then the NXT 900 is on 49. Now the reason why I need to set up 98 is because the NXT 900 will know that this IP address is trying to contact it and work as an external panel, so it needs to be from that particular IP address. But this is everything I need to do, so I can now save settings. I go to my SKAARHOJ firmware application, check for updates, and now it's the server is generating a new firmware with all these settings built in. And it's installing it on my RCP Mini, and in a moment we'll see the effect of making this quick change. I think it took just a few minutes, right? And there we go. I want to quickly open the serial monitor and see what happens here, because what we'll see in the end, it's gonna list the device cores that it's supporting. Let me just stop the scrolling here. You can see device core 0, the only one installed is Ensemble Designs Bright Eye 900 series. Oh, there's a 0 too much there, right? So it's trying to connect. Oh, it's actually connected from the beginning very quickly. Great. Okay, so everything seems to work. Now we can observe the software in the background. So as I'm now pulling this handle, you'll see that in the web interface for the NXT 900, we are seeing a change. And since you're looking at me at the same time, you see the change happen in the picture. I'm adjusting myself, right? So basically I have a sort of iris now for a GoPro camera, for instance. The same if I turn the dial here, you can see I'm changing the pedestal, so I'm in control of that as well. And now let's just take a look at the RCP itself. You can also see how I managed fairly easily to set up the gain here, and the value for the pedestal is reflected in this display. So that was nicely done too. Then we have R, G, and B gain set up here, so I can change these values. And as I'm changing them, you can also see them in the interface right here. So I'm changing the R gain, and the value is the same as the one presented to you right there. The green gain and the blue. And I think I may have more or less messed up. At least if I continue, I am messing up my own mirror image at the moment, which is of course a shame. It's really a shame that I'm not that well shaded anymore. But luckily I have reset functions, so I can just quickly hold these buttons down and they will reset. So I'm absolutely beautiful to look at it again. Okay, thanks for watching. This is clear how quickly you can change the SKAARHOJ RCP controllers setup, the flexibility of having device cores, and since we are hooked up with an online presence of all these software updates, you will instantly enjoy anything we are developing almost from day to day. You can expect these things to grow, so your investment in SKAARHOJ controllers will really pay off in the future, because you gain all this flexibility as your infrastructure is going to change. You're probably not going to use the same cameras for a lifetime, but there's a hope that the controller will survive your cameras, and that's great news, I think.